Welcome back to Doc Shows You How. Today we are making Hoth laser cannons out of trash. Let's get right to that table. So let's go ahead and get you started with one of these medium-sized bottles. And let's go ahead and start processing that down. Get this weird button thing out the way. Now, a lot of folks love using these juice bottle caps. This one was a little bit softer plastic than my prototype, so I had to get back in there and fine trim that piece out. So all the snips did was kind of give me a area to cut. It made that X-Acto blade quite a bit easier to use there. See, now it fits quite a bit nicer. Some pizza cardboard. This cardboard wasn't the best. I wasn't terribly happy with it. I think that the cereal box is actually somewhat better than this stuff, and you'll see why towards the end. I'll mention what my dissatisfaction was later. Hey folks, a bunch of you people keep coming back and watch my stuff, and I really appreciate that. It's weird to me that you keep coming back and don't subscribe, so if you really like this kind of trash terrain with a focus on Star Wars, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget that bell icon. That stuff matters, and I don't want you to miss any of the upcoming stuff. I've got a long list of to-do videos, and I think you'll like a bunch of them. You'll see that I scored that cardboard just so it gets a better adhesion with that glue. This was the trick. These slider things happen to fit perfectly for this build. Let's get some cardboard on that piece too.
Just like that Weird Al song, that is tacky, but I don't trust it like I do super glue. Let's just do that.
And there we go. We're getting pretty good on the turret there. You can get yourself a bag of wooden discs at the hobby store. They come in various sizes. And this one's got the slightest little bevel, so I made sure that that was on the top. And I have these little counting discs or Tiddlywink discs or whatever they are. And I just use that for the next level up. I'm sure that the bag of wooden discs would have one that's another size lower. We're going to use a Bic pin to make the cannon part, just kind of disassemble that. And that piece is a little wide there, so we're going to trim that down and then just shove that in there. Now I want that little recess there, so we're just going to put that a little bit in there and glue that in place. And then for the next piece here, I'm going to point out that we need a little bit of that in the tube further than where we had that front part glued in. I'm going to use a chopstick here. Now of course you could use a dowel rod, but that chopstick is still a little bit smaller than I need it to be to fit snugly in that piece of a pin here. So we're going to take a piece of tape, just cut off a piece nice and straight here, wrap that around for a little bit more girth. That's what she said. And that is going to make that fit a little bit better here. Let's take a bendy straw and cut that for a little bit more interesting detail here. And then the actual cannon piece for the scale I'm doing here is going to be just a hair more than 2 inches. So let's make sure to glue that in there. So that's going to be all the visible part of that cannon, which of course means that the rest is going to need to go in there. The lid of a pill bottle is pretty soft plastic, so you can just drill at that with your X-Acto blade. And of course we're going to need to trim that down so it fits. And just knock that in there. We're going to glue that to the top of this. Using the capillary effect, it'll seep into those edges. I'm going to use my tag punch for a door. Love using that. Now see, here's the problem with this particular cardboard I chose on this project. Even though I'm able to get a bend on it, it's kind of a poor bend. It leaves some weird like creases. I'm not super happy about that. But I was already too far into the build to turn around too far here, so I went ahead and kept using that same cardstock. I'll be honest with you folks, at this point, I was not super pleased with this project overall. Like, it looks pretty good. I'm pleased with the end result here, but I may revisit this if I find a better base container than a pill bottle. As far as keeping it cheap, as far as keeping it easy.
Shout out to that channel. Give him a follow. I'll put a link in the description.
I used the pill bottle, and then I did see somebody on one of my Facebook groups use one of these spray bottles. I could not find who it was. I apologize for stealing your idea, but it was such a great idea. I had to share it with the audience here because this gives the profile of this cannon a little bit better than just the pill bottle, even though it already comes with a bunch of detail that might be a little bit inaccurate. Add some more detail with that corrugated card. And base coat of white, and we're just going to do some very simple washing here. Not a lot, not too much is too much here. A little goes a long way. I am using that actual dark tone here and wiping a lot off because surprisingly the ones in the movie are pretty dirty. I just wanted to get in there and make some of this detail pop. And then with the implied function that this piece can spin around the top there, it's going to be dirty from the grease and whatnot here. So we're just going to go through and make that also pop. In an effort to keep things simple, I did go ahead and just use a Sharpie paint pen to do that cannon black. And then once that was done, I came back in here now with a silver paint pen, and again a Sharpie, again trying to keep things accessible for everybody. And just going to do some edge highlighting, just kind of make those details pop.
Another deathly cold day on Hoth. Then the Empire arrived. Hey folks, thanks for staying this long. If you haven't subscribed, have an amazing day.